and welcome to the Instant Ink Comic Book Podcast. This is the podcast where myself, Roberto, and a guest put together a one-page comic book, all live. We don't know what we're going to make right now. We're going to get some prompts, and through that, we're going to come up with the story all together. And by the end of this session, we will have a one-page story, beginning, middle, and end, the whole thing. It's all thanks to our artist Roberto and, of course, our wonderful guest Bruno today. So, who I am, my name is Adriano. You can find me online at Pesto Comics or pestocomics.com. Very easy to find. It's the same thing almost everywhere. And as I quickly mentioned, I'm always joined by my co-host, Roberto. Roberto, let them know who you are.
Who am I? That's a deep question. My name is Roberto Viacava. I'm the creator of Voyager and the founder of Green Iceberg Press. And you can find me on robertoviacavaillustration.com. And that's it.
And then, as I mentioned, we have Bruno here today. It's very late where he's from, so really appreciate him coming. Bruno, let him know who you are.
Yeah, thank you for having me. And well, let's see if I can be as efficient as Roberto. So, my name is Bruno Catarino. I'm a Portuguese comic book creator. I am in London, so there's that. And yeah, I'm a writer. I created a few comics so far, with a lot more to come out this year. So yeah, you can find me at brunocatarino.com, and that's it. Not as efficient, is it?
It's still easy enough to figure out. I think that's what's key, right? People know where to find you, regardless of the pitch. It's like, as long as people hear the point, which is where to find you. BrunoCatarino.com. Done. Right? We're good. Okay, so with that, yeah, let's bring up some prompts. Let's get this rolling, and then we'll chat a bit. So I'm gonna share my screen, and what I'm gonna ask you to do is ignore the first prompts that come up, because these are not the ones we're going to use. These are just the ones that I've been staring at as we did our pre-chat. So I'm going to hit generate. This allows us to prove that we don't know what these are. And real quick, I'm going to see. I think we have. Okay, so family heirloom we've done before, but other than that, we haven't repeated these. So I'll read these out to you. Rewritten. Rewrite another piece of your writing from the opposite perspective. That might take some research, so I don't know if that'll be useful here. Uh, Dragon breath. What happens to a character that has terribly bad breath? All right, going silly there. Last person. Write about the last person you had contact with. And true friendship. Describe a situation that exudes true friendship. So, like I said, we nixed the middle one. So if none of these are speaking to you, let us know. We'll refresh these. But are any of these speaking to you? Anything spark something?
I mean, I think we all know it's going to be Dragon Breath, right? I mean, it's just there. It's just there.
I like it. I like it. Let's go with that one. I'm gonna kill my screen and I'm gonna give it back to Roberto. All right. Well, that pops up. Here we are. We're going. We're moving. Okay. So Bruno, welcome. Uh, Now, for context for everybody, it's a kind of a interesting day that we're talking to each other, because where we met was at Thought Bubble in 2024. Today, not when you're watching this today, but today that we're recording this, the new tables for the new call for applications opened up for Thought Bubble 2025. So it was kind of like a kismet thing. That's like, yeah, it's where I met you, and now they're trying to bring me back. Um, Not necessarily, but so have you applied? Or you have any thought of going to Thought Bubble? Is that a regular place for you?
I applied, and I made sure to say in my application that yeah, how excited I am about the festival and how I'm going to make it really weird until they actually, give me like a thumbs up. But yeah, no, I will make publicity for Thought Bubble as much as possible, because they really are a fantastic festival. And until it's weird, I will say this over and over again.
So I feel like that's a good segue, and I was trying to be clever here, and I feel like that's a good segue into this prompt, because where are you gonna find folks that have some bad breath but con? And like it is what it is.
Was not thinking about that, but that's actually probably a very good idea.
I thought I was being very. I'm sure Roberto, you're like you're missing a very important part of this this order that we do things. But no, I had it in my head. I knew we were going there. So I will say the people at Thought Bubble, I did not experience that at all. That's not Thought Bubble was one of the most normal places I've been. But yeah, you were good. Everyone there was good. But I will say, one of the first years that I took my wife to a convention, it might have been the last time. The scent, the aroma was enough to convince her never to return. So it's a thought that sticks in my head forever. I feel like they're getting better about it. I don't know. I haven't been to, or am I just blending in now and I don't know the smell anymore? Anyway, with all that, do we have a story out of this? How do we how do we make this a story? So normally, what I like to focus on is one, the panel count, right? Because we're limited, so 4 to 6 panels, right, as best you can fit. The other thing is there's got to be a little bit of conflict in there, right? Which I think it's inherent. It's going to be somebody who can't stand to be where they are at because the other person is, right, is fumigating them. But then how does this resolve itself? And we have to do it within a page. So
Do you want to take the convention way?
I was just being silly. So
We could.
if you have a better approach, actually, so I'll tell you something. I feel like a convention almost doesn't work because it's too open of a space, right? So I feel like if we had a lot more room, a lot more time, then you could have somebody who's being a pest and like following you around, right? Because a convention, it's like either you're at the table and somebody comes and goes, or you know what I mean. Like there's too much opportunity. So I feel like it needs to be a situation where the people are almost trapped together, right? Be it a car or an elevator or something weirder. There's got to be something weirder. Maybe they're at the urinals. I don't know. What could it be? How silly do you want to get? That's the first thing.
I don't know. I think I would need to, as I was saying, that's not really how my brain works that much. Like, kind of just coming with something. So if you let me go take a shower, I might have like some better idea. But
We should have done this while you were going for a walk.
yeah, exactly. But so you were talking about the convention. I know that's kind of an open space, but what I was thinking, and brilliant.
Yeah, I like that. Good reference.
What I was thinking about was, imagine that someone is really excited to meet like a really, top creator, and that person happens to have like terrible breath. Like, it just, you can see it. You can see the breath coming out. Uh,
So okay, I'm open to that.
yeah, I guess the conflict there is that you wanted to meet that person for so long, and then you just meet that person. And it's like, it's a bit of the never meet your heroes.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
So okay, and is it like how do we set this up? They're like in line with their books waiting to get signed. They get up to them, and then that we have that moment, that climax of oh my god. Do they take their books and run away? Is that what they're doing? Right? They're like, "Where are you going? I didn't sign them yet." And they're like, it's okay," right? Or do they pass out on the table? Do they?
Yeah, I don't know. That's just what was in my mind. But I mean, you might be right that it probably works better if it's like a closed space.
It could be in an elevator, right? Maybe they're maybe it's the same scenario, right? It's the same scenario where some celebrity walks in, right? Somebody they can't imagine meeting, right? They're in the elevator with them. They're like, oh my god," and then it turns out this person reeks, and they're just trying to like get out, and the elevator is stuck, or right, or they're following them out to their floor. They're like, "Oh, okay, I gotta go." They're like, "Actually, this is my floor." Right? And it's just like they're cursed to have this person that they were dying to meet now follow them with their stink.
And how would you put that in like yeah, how would you put that in just one page? I guess that's kind of the thing. Oh man, yeah, that's beautiful. No, but that's the thing. I think it works if it's like if it really feels like if it has a shape. Uh, um, I don't know. So if we go with so let's say that it's meeting someone that they want to meet for a really long time, right? But uh, yeah, how to set up that, I guess, and what do they want? What do they want?
Yeah, like what are they aside from like is it a scenario where they come upon this person or are they trying to actively see this person, right? Like is it something that they're trying to like yeah, like they're in line at a convention, so they're there to see them and then they're disappointed with what they find? Or is it a situation where the person they're at dinner and the person sits next to them and they're ruining their dinner because of the right? If you want to go super literal, you could get extra silly and maybe the literal dragon breath there starts eating their dinner or something at the end, and that's the last panel, right? Takes their wallet. Who knows? But
Yeah, I don't know. I could really use a shower now.
well, okay. So here's what helps me when I'm trapped. I'm very big on outlining. I don't know about yourself. Yeah. So for me, like you kind of it almost helps you work backwards, especially with a one pager because you're really leaning on the punchline of it, especially when you're doing a silly one, right? Like it's all punchline. So with that in mind, the punchline to this is clearly going to be the breath of the person that Roberto's drawing with such detail. But it could be the climax, not the punchline. Like I said, it could be we could add a button to it after the climax of the person smells, and then it's like they can't escape or whatever. Or again, if we're going literal, it literally chases them or something, right? The dragon pops out of their mouth and chases them down the street. Um, that might take a little more explaining, but or maybe not. But that's the other thing too. So if you want to, the other thing is you don't want to given you only have a page, you don't want all the real estate to be taken up by dialogue, right? So, so there's a way that you can illustrate things without saying them out loud, right? Again, or just even just sparse dialogue is fine, but you don't want it to just be like a talking head situation because this is everything, right? There's nothing, so you need some more action in the thing. So I'm rambling to try and get you somewhere. Any sparks from that, or am I just taking you off course?
Mm, yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to think what to be. I think it would be nice that it's not just the bread thing and that's the end. I think that the reaction here is important. I think, and but yeah, I
So the easy shortcut, right? At least for if you're gonna go beginning to end, you start with the establishing shot, right? So it's like outside with the banner, convention, whatever, right? You have them in line. That's your second panel. They're very excited. Um, I trust Roberto to show them being very excited. We might not even have to say it. And then the what they're excited about. So that's your third. That's your like scene and sequel. Like the reaction to that panel is this guy at a signing, and there's people around them like clutching their stuff, so happy that it was signed. And then they get up to them, and this happens, right? So that's the reveal. It's their turn, and then it's like, the, and then there's I just don't know how you end that.
well, I guess the other people probably are coming out also kind of knocked out by the bread, right? And I guess it's like right. So I guess it could work like that. So start yeah with that establishing shot, like being very excited to meet that person. Let's say that that person wrote something like called like the Dragons of Death. That's possibly where it comes the the whole seeing the shape of a dragon. Um, yeah, so the banner could be something like that, and yeah, I mean, yeah, you could be talking to someone and have like something very spare. Um, and yeah, people are passing by. So in the second and third panels, I guess, like, green, or I don't know, like with looking not normal. Um,
Yeah, okay. So, and I think it helps. So Roberto's kind of combined our first and second panel there, which works because now we're getting more done with less real estate, which is key. Um, so we have that, and then I guess our second one is this dude. So he can be. So here's the question: if you want to avoid that problem of wouldn't all the other people ahead of them like know that this is an issue? Maybe they're just first in line, right? That's why they're so excited. We could show that with I don't know, like something, a rope across in front of them, right?
They taken the first guys through the back in a wheelbarrow.
Yeah, you could do that. Like they're opening a back door and they're like, "Hey, you want to meet?" So have them like sprawled out on a couch or something, right? Like really like VIP. And then they're like, "Oh."
maybe there is a recovery room. Yeah, I don't know.
It's a VIP room, very intoxicated people.
Right? Well, then, well, that's how you could do it. And then maybe it's that. Maybe you have like like there's a door. The person's like, "Come, come," and they're like all excited. They meet the guy on the couch, and then it ends with them back outside the door puking into like a garbage bin or something.
I don't know. It's isn't that a bit too? I don't say graphic, but too. I don't know. Too expected.
Yeah, yeah, I could see that. I could see that because yeah, it's pretty much like the prompt exactly as written. Um, Again, if you want to go super literal and do the dragon thing chases them out, right? Like it's them like coming out the doors and the dragons like behind them. Um, then at least a little different. I always hesitate with the visual gags. Again, they're not bad and we use them a lot. Um, the problem is with a one pager, it's spoiled the second you look at the page, right? Like your eyes scan it and then you start to read it. So if you go too big of a visual on your last on like your punchline, then it's spoiled. It's fine to do that. Or the only thing I always say when you do that is try to yeah, like you mentioned, you don't want to go uh, what's the word? You don't want to go too by the book, right? Like you want people to think they know what the story is about when they glance at it, and then when they start to read it, they realize, oh, it's not exactly what I pictured in my head, right? So I think you're onto something there. Um, yeah, so it may just be that. It may be what's how do we close it, right?
Yeah, I mean, what if? I wonder if so. Is holding the books to get signed, and then by the end of it is like, nah, I'm good, and just maybe, I don't know, leaving the books there or throwing them in the bin, or I don't know. That's probably a bit.
Well, it's got to be more visceral. It's got to throw it at them, right? If that's what we're doing. Um,
Yeah, it doesn't really work.
Or maybe he's fighting the dragon breath with the book, or
oh yeah,
like a fly.
then you could have the dialogue that says, "Want me to sign that?" And then they're like, no thanks," right?
I mean, it could be using it as a shield or something like that.
Yeah, exactly, right? And like he's thinking like, "Oh, you're just here for me to sign it," and it's like, "No, I'm trying to like block it from you," right?
No, I guess it could work. Yeah, I guess so I guess the dragon thing would not be the last panel. It would be somewhere in the middle, and after that, it kind of, yeah, just is just blocking with the person signing, and it's just,
Yeah, right? Them, like, fighting it off. It's, like, on them. Right? And that's when he says, "You sure you don't want me to" like, maybe they're I don't know if he's like I don't know what you could do with the space you got, Roberto. Maybe they're, like, reaching over, like, "Do you want me to sign that?" And they're like, "No, thanks." Right? Okay. I think we what do you think? guys. I don't know. I don't want to steamroll like I like to do. Do we got something here, story wise?
I mean, yeah, I think something similar still kind of works, but
Just like the context is a little different now, right?
yeah,
I think I need a bigger dragon.
yeah.
It's got to be a little bit more formidable, right?
Yes.
Well, yeah. If we stay out wide, I mean, you're the artist. That's not me. But yeah, if, I picture it like yeah, like we're a little wider. So now that dragon just by scale looks huge, right?
Mm.
So Roberto, are we good? Do you think you have enough to?
Yes, yes. I can do one panel like this and then some close up for the final dialogue.
Okay, cool, cool. Okay, so we'll let you do that.
Do we have an ending?
I think so, right? Isn't the so the ending is the punchline? The you sure you want me to sign that? And it's like, oh no, thanks, because they're like fighting off the. Does that work or I don't know?
Let me do a quick thing.
Yeah, let's see what it looks like.
Yeah, I would say that probably the first time he probably would not be blocking it, right? Because he wouldn't know that the bread would be that bad.
Yeah,
Yeah, so he would be just completely
yeah, that's its moment to be like in the air, right? Like it's coming, but it's not.
yeah, and if he has like the eyes are kind of just I don't know, like I guess that's kind of the visual gag, but it's kind of just getting like I don't know, almost knocked out by the smell. Then, but yeah, I still feel like that wouldn't be the last panel, right? That would be like
You still want this?
it doesn't have to be. Well,
You want that face?
not necessarily. Yeah, but it could be the wide. It could still be the wide, but as long as you can see that that is struggling with
Yeah, I mean the other way to approach it is you have that so it's them walking up and then that next panel doesn't take up the whole thing. It's more like yeah. Um right? Like you don't have the like he's walking up, they have the little exchange and then he's doing this thing. Is there a joke after that where it's like he's passed out and they're like next or something like that?
I don't know. The way that I was saying is that maybe at the bottom, you could be kind of blocking it in one of the panels. How many panels do we have? Like three, four, five. That might be a little bit too much, but yeah, is blocking it in one of them and is walking away on another with the book kind of looking at it as in, do I really want this? And he's kind of just dropping it somewhere like
Like holding it like it's filthy, like this, like
could be something like that, and then they just I don't know throw it away or give it someone or I don't know, give it to a kid, and the kid kind of passes out or something. I don't know, something silly like that. But that would be probably a lot of space.
yeah, yeah. That's like another 4 panels you described. How do we? So okay. So what's the end goal we're trying to reach here? Like we want them to. It's not so much that the
Wait, wait. I can merge this panel 2 and 3 together,
That we probably don't need both of those, right?
yeah.
and then I go to the. Okay, I'll start again.
Sorry about that.
No, no worries, no worries.
This is how we get there, right?
Yes.
It's so I always say it about this show. Sometimes we get the story and somebody just like had something like we had a was it, I think it was Chris O'Hara came on and he's like, here's what happened to me tonight before I got on the show. Right. And it worked with the prompt and it was just like it was so fresh in his mind that he just told us what he wants and then we talked about whatever. And we've had other episodes where we are like really struggling. This is one of those, but believe it or not, but yeah, this is one of those ones that we're really fighting to get the story out, and that's normal because again, we're, if anything, it goes to prove that we're not coming with this kind of ready to go, right? It shows the process that, especially think about it, if you're getting a story that has been assigned to you, right? Like everybody's dream is to go write for Marvel or DC. The fact of that is you're not going to get to write whatever you want and be like, I want to kill Superman again. No, right? We need a backup story that's 2 pages long, and it's going to be about him buying groceries because we have a deal with some grocer that we have to sell, right? So figure that out. Why Superman's buying groceries?
Yeah.
That's the kind of story you're stuck with. So, similar to these prompts, it may not be everything you're looking for, but you can find a story in it, right? So I like I like having some variety in that sense. Sometimes it's magical to just have people who are like, boom, I know the story. And then sometimes it's this. And this is, frankly, I don't know about you. When I'm writing stuff, I always have a germ of an idea. And then I do this for months, right? I have a slush pile of things where it's like half done or half ready, or I'm always fighting it. Like, maybe that's not the idea I'm going to go with. I'm not going to, you know, I'm not, it's not what I thought in my head now that I've actually thought it out. Right. So that's part of the deal. Right. Both for writing and art. Usually I speak just in a writing sense, but I know that's true for art too, that I could ask Roberto to draw this or that, and then he'll do 10 different versions because it's just not clicking, right? Something doesn't look right, doesn't feel right. So
And it's a great moment when you write something and then the artist comes up with something entirely different, but that's still kind of the same idea and it's a lot better. It's so good when that happens. Yeah.
absolutely, yeah. It's I've been very lucky in that regard, where it's, I don't know, the artists I seem to work with, even though I'm not giving them so much to go on, they seem to always improve on what I've given them. So I've been very blessed in that way, where it's rare that I'm saying, "Oh no, that's not what I meant." Right? It's usually like, if it's not what I meant, it's an improvement. It's like, okay, I can make this work better, right? It's kind of like we were talking here. I did our little outline for Roberto, and he managed to combine all of that spiel into one panel, right? So it's yeah, it's a skill in itself, right? This is the thing about like comic art and regular art. It's like folks who draw comics, like artists who draw for comics, are storytellers, right? You could argue that people that do posters and stuff are storytellers as well, and they certainly are because they're getting a lot more done with one image. But it's a different skill, right? Like,
Different skill. You see a lot of amazing artists that, yeah, if you put them doing a comic is not quite the same thing. And there are some, I don't know, aspects of storytelling that they may not, get straight away. And yeah, it is a different skill. Yeah, I've noticed that from very early on.
yeah, like the one thing you always see on the forums and stuff for looking for artists is people who put up a lot of pinups, right? And you don't like, you want to tell them like, that's great, like you're an excellent artist, like you have a great understanding of composition and form and all that. But what you haven't showed me is storytelling, right? And that's of the utmost importance, because I can guide you to a degree, but at the end of the day, like you're kind of relying on the artist to be able to actually tell the story you're telling, right? Um, yeah, as good as you might be at describing things, if they don't have that knack, if they don't have that sense for how to move things along and pacing and what works and what doesn't, like you can get yourself in even more trouble, because sometimes, I don't know about you, I will overwrite and then I cut back, right? And maybe I'm not cutting back enough. So a good artist will take that and, say, okay, well, I know what you're getting at. Like, I'm not going to include every bit and piece, but maybe somebody who's less confident or less experienced is going to try to incorporate everything I'm saying, right? And not getting to like the nugget of what the point of it, all of it is. So
Yeah, it's the whole thing of close up with feet. There was a writer who kind of was describing that, directors who go like, I want to close up with feet. It's like, well, you can't really have that. um, but I get that. Yeah, I think that it's kind of the same to me, and more often than not, I also overwrite a lot. And more often than not, when the art comes, sometimes we just cut panels because the artist manages to convey something in, one panel that I describe in two or three, and it's like, okay, let's cut this. We don't need that. great, and yeah, it's really good.
Right? It's a visual medium, right? Like if you have to describe everything on the page, you might as well just write a novel or a novella or whatever, right? Like that you have to use the medium to its fullest extent. A good artist is going to do that for you. I hesitate. Like I don't say a bad artist because I'm not, but I always want to say like an inexperienced one because you could be an excellent technical artist, but if you're not specifically trained or experienced, not don't have to be trained, but experienced in comic book like sequential storytelling, it's a chasm you gotta kind of get over. So I've had an experience here or there with folks that are, you know, they're trying it or they're not familiar with it, and you can tell the difference, right? People who've done this a bunch, and then people who are still kind of like, again, excellent artists, but not comic book artists, right? But yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting thing. I know Roberto, you came from like a different, like you came from like architecture or something, right? Before comics.
Yeah, but now I have more experience in comics and architecture.
Yeah, sure. But yeah, like that was your initial thing. So did you find that transition to be difficult? Like especially doing like technical drawings effectively, right?
No, but I was drawing while I was studying architecture, because the thing was that I wanted to draw, and my parents wanted university titles. Maybe this is more aligned with what you want, but it turned out that it doesn't.
Yeah. You know, so I have the exact same story. So I was, you know, everybody draws when they're a kid. And so I'm like, yeah, I'm going to be an artist. And I had the same discussion. Well, that means you want to be an architect. Except I didn't pursue it. I'm like, no, I don't. And I just dropped it entirely. Is that the only way I get to do this? Then no, thank you. I did not continue. But
You were smarter than me.
I would just went in a different silly direction. I went to the film side of things, which now I work in IT. So yeah, we all find our own path to everything. So Bruno, what about you? How did you get to comics? What's the through line to here?
Very similar. I'm a software engineer, really, and yeah, I mean, I did do film for a bit. So I started writing screenplays, and I directed a few shorts. Um, yeah, and I actually had, a lot of fun doing that. But I don't know. You'd spend a lot of money in a short film and get, nowhere really, because nobody's buying short films. And yeah, when I started, kind of playing with the idea of writing comics, and I actually was at a convention, and one guy had like very similar with how I met you. There was a guy who had like was had like a workshop about writing comics. Um, I attended. He asked everybody to write like a 4-page comic. I did, and he liked it. And I even wrote something for him that is going to be launched sometime this year. Um, so yeah, yeah, I kind of it pushed me to write the first comic, and after that, I just kept doing it. It was just adapting from writing from moving images from film to static images. It's just a little bit of changes a bit the way you think, but it's still very similar. It's still like you're saying, it's a visual storytelling medium. So it's yeah. Uh,
There's always that basic thing that everybody struggles with. Like you can tell with somebody who's never written a comic before. And there's a lot of film people. We've even had a lot on this show. A lot of film people that go into comics. Um, and you could tell the folks that maybe are new to comics as a whole because they do the guy gets in the room, walks across the hall, and picks up a cup. It's like, well, you just described a page of panels, right? Like it's not a like in a short film. Yeah, that's not even that's the opening scene, right? But here it's like, no, no. One, we could probably get that whole thing done with just somebody picking up a cup, right? A cup in their hand. But also, yeah, like you have to think sequentially and what that does to pacing, right? So it's a different skill. What happens on the page turn? So you can really tell who is just like has never really picked up a comic and studied it. Like maybe they've read it as a kid or whatever, but they never like understood the the medium as much. Where with film, maybe they've studied it and they really understand structure and pacing and all that stuff, but they don't understand the translation. So I do see that a lot. Talking to a lot of film people, all the people we've had on this show all seem to get it. Uh, but but yeah, like when somebody's really brand new, that seems to be the first hurdle is that they don't understand that we're talking about images, but static images that you have to string together to make sense of, right? So I'm talking like 101 level stuff, but yeah, it really does show the difference between the two.
I concur. And I probably have had that. I mean, if you look at my first comic, you have a lot of images of, there's like one page, one guy going up a hill where it's like repeating the same. I mean, to be honest, that was a conscious decision based on, pacing. I actually wanted to have like, that to make it almost painful to see that person go up a hill because, he has a severed foot. So, dropping a thing of blood. But yeah, it's that probably could have cut down a little bit, and if you're thinking film, you actually see the movements. So yeah, it definitely was the first hurdle was to think about how to translate that, especially because that script was initially a short film script. So transforming a short film script to a comic book script is a challenge.
Yeah, right. And it's like it's just 10 pages of a short film, right? Like it's a 10-minute short film. Yeah, but you're talking about now it's a 160-page graphic novel if you did it beat for beat. So you really got to think about what's important now, right?
Yep. Yeah.
I feel like everybody's got that short film that didn't never get made the way you wanted, and it's like I can turn this into a comic, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But
I did the opposite. I had a script and I made for a comic and I made a short film.
I feel like that. I feel like that is an easier route to go,
Yeah, it was.
right? Look at like 300. He effectively like Snyder basically used it as storyboards, right? And he did similar with all his movies, all the DC stuff, but no more than like 300. 300 was like ripped from the books, similar to what Robert Rodriguez did with Sin City, right? I would argue he adapted a lot more, although he stripped panels straight from the book. He still tried to do his own thing with the narrative, where 300 was like just the comic. Like even the way I don't know if you've read the physical copy of 300. It's widescreen the way it's done, like widescreen for lack of a better term. It's it's a landscape book, right? So it translates so easily to film. Like it's the work was done for him effectively, right? So
You didn't have to compose anything. It's
right, and he was lauded for it. It's like, oh my god, how did you come up with that visual? It's like he didn't, he just replicated it so well, right? Which credit to him, because a lot of people would throw that out and say, like, especially at the time, right, would say, well, this is child's play. I'm going to show how you compose a scene, right? Where Snyder actually just took that and like replicated it, right? So it's anyway, I could talk about that forever. Roberto, I think you got the layout done.
yeah. I don't know about the last two panels. The,
I feel like that second last one is good. I wonder about the last one.
Yeah, I think the last one would be, I don't know. I kind of like the idea of him just be like, so in the last one, I wouldn't say maybe it seems like he's running, but I don't know, maybe just walking away, looking at the thing, and
Exaggerate it, have him like crawling out because it was so bad. Right? He's like, coming up the door.
maybe maybe he's like against the closed door on the back of the building, like yeah, and maybe some I don't know smoke coming, the dragon smoke coming through the cracks.
That you could have like a claw as one of the things coming through the cracks. I think that works. No, Bruno, what do you think? I don't want to.
No, no, I think that works. Yeah, I think that would work, and that would be what the last one or the
That's the end. Is him like basically he's escaped and now, but it's like, it's like the Freddy's coming back. You think you got rid of him, and then you just see the claw come up. So it's that leaning on the door, and then there's like one of the the dragon's claws coming through it.
yeah, sounds good.
Okay, cool. I think we got something. All right, all right. So Roberto's gonna make this look pretty and nice now. Yeah, yeah, I like that. I think that's perfect, Roberto. Cool. So, all right. So we got another film guy here. So where are we in time? We're at April, May. So the Oscars have happened already. But in the time we're recording this, the nominations had just come out. How caught up are you? Are you like a film buff? Are you going to all the film festivals and
Not anymore. I used to. So there was a time where, by the time the Oscars came out, I had probably seen most of the movies that were nominated. I haven't done that for about 2 or 3 years now. So
it's been a depressing couple of years to be fair. Like yeah, I use the same. I would chase them and make sure I saw everything before Oscar night, so I was well informed. And now, as easy as they are to watch, because half of these movies are streaming by the time you're into January, February, I'm still behind because I just can't bring myself to watch some of these films.
yeah, I mean, I've been spending way too much time on Kickstarter promoting books and stuff like that. So that takes away all the time. The last three movies that I watched were Double Indemnity, The Big Heat, and The Apartment. All of them pre 1960. So
Going way back. All right,
yeah. So
you're not a snob about it. I hope
no,
they haven't made a good film since 1970. Like
no, no, not at all. I think that I hear a lot of people saying, "Oh, the movies today are shit." No, no, they're not. We're probably making better movies than we ever did. We just make a lot of movies, which means a lot of movies are really bad.
exactly. And it was true of then too, right? Like we don't watch every film from 1970. We watch the good ones that survived, right?
And yeah, even if you watch some good movies from back then, they are very cringy sometimes. It's like,
Even pacing wise, I find like we're very good about like not wasting a moment where they were very like and sometimes it's done very well, but the way they use silences, right, where somebody just entering a room and throwing their keys on the thing, and it's like nowadays it's like why are you showing me this? Right, like this could have been used to move the plot forward or show me something about their character, and instead it was almost like stage blocking. Like I feel like it wasn't so removed from theater that it's like you have to be with the character, where now it's like no, like every frame is important. Like we're showing you this with a goal of exposing something, right? um and I don't yeah, you watch like some older films, again we're getting the best of the best in a lot of cases, so those films do it right, but the ones that are like the mid films, you get a lot of that. You get like they didn't understand how to pace things and how to move the story forward with every frame, right? It was more we're setting the scene, right? In silence, and it's just a lot of like come on, like get to the point. And it could be, I don't know, maybe it's our attention spans nowadays, but I feel like it's more brevity. Like we almost respect people's time a lot better, right?
yeah, although, I mean, nowadays movies have, 2.5 hours at minimum.
That is the other side of that conversation, yes.
I, I, I don't know. I think there's a bit of both because even you're talking about pacing, about movies before being a bit too slow, but I can't think about, I can't remember which one, but what was the movie that I was thinking the other day, which is like, it's just information dump. The first minute is like, so this is who I am, like this is where I'm at in life, and boom, we're into the plot, and it's like incredibly. I don't know. It's really on the nose. It's like they tell you everything you need to know on the first minute, but it's they don't show you. They just tell you, uh, and then it's like, yeah, okay, cool. You just cut 10 minutes of movie, great, but wasn't there
I feel like that's every Jason Statham movie
possibly?
where he's like, I'm more or less the same character, but this time I'm a lawyer. Go. Right? And that's like, but those films serve a purpose, right? They're not, obviously they're not going for an Oscar. But yeah, I hear where you're coming from. Like I feel like that with was the recent one, the Batman. That was three films, arguably two. That I would say three. You could chop that movie into three separate films with three separate narratives. They did not need to be that long, right? Like it was, yeah, it's frustrating in a sense, right? Because it's like if this was what you want to accomplish, just do a series, right? So I don't know if you watched The Penguin, right? Same universe.
I haven't watched it yet. Are you talking about the Matt Reeves Batman or? Okay, I haven't watched it. Yeah, I haven't watched that.
You haven't watched that either? Oh my god. Don't let me talk about it anymore. But but it's you'll get that same sense. It's I think it runs close to 3 hours and there's a very clear midpoint where the film shifts from one topic to another. And then there's another in the end, which again, I won't spoil for you, but it's arguably related. I personally don't think so. But yeah, it could have been three films, right? But it's almost this. I don't know if it's like they feel as though they have to give you your money's worth or something, or you know what I mean? Like, oh, it can't be 90 minutes, but it can. Like if the story is 90 minutes, give me a 90-minute film, and I'll be happy, right? I'm not doing like a movie ticket per minute like cost analysis, you know. So yeah, it's a very challenging. Like yeah, I know what you mean. Like it's very frustrating because not everybody has grasped that. But I do feel like when it's done well, they really do have a good sense of even leaning on tropes, right? And saying like you understand where this story's going, so I'm not going to explain that to you, right? Like you know what time travel. I think Looper did it, right? Where he yell Bruce Willis there yells at him at one point, and he's like, "We're not going to get into like how time travel works, or otherwise we're going to be standing here like, what do you say, like staring at spaghetti straws or something like that." and, but it's like, yes, exactly. Like we've all seen time travel. We understand the basic rules. You don't have to get into the details. Just tell us your version of it now. Tell us your story, right? So when it's done well, it's very, it's done very well. But again, we're in the middle of it. We don't know what's going to end up being good and what's going to end up being bad. But anyways, I can rant about this stuff all day. Uh, feel free to cut it and stop me.
No, no, I'm yeah, all good. No, no, no. I think yeah, the whole thing with movies that completely change. We're talking about the Batman, movies that completely change from one topic to another. That kind of annoys me so much because yeah, it really feels like I don't know. It's like it almost feels like well, I guess it's showing how the sausage is made, which is there were 10 different screenwriters on that movie, and two of them did something that someone liked, and they wanted both. So they just hired someone to give me both.
Or it's some executive that says you have to have this in and they don't have a reason, right? I don't know if you ever heard the Kevin Smith. He did a whole speech about that, about when he was writing Superman.
No.
So okay, I'll do
And Spider.
the giant spider. Yeah. So it's John Peters, and he said you have to put a giant spider in this film, and Kevin Smith could not understand why. And long story short, you have to hear him say it. But the point is, that giant spider ended up in a different film. It was Wild Wild West. Giant spider, exactly like he said he needed it in the film. So somebody gave him what he wanted. But it's that idea, right? Like somebody with holding the purse strings is like, well, I need to see this, and I don't care if it makes sense for your movie, but if you want to make it, you're gonna go through me, and this is how it's gonna get done, right? So it's an interesting. Uh,
It worked so well for Wild Wild West. I mean, that movie was so
so he was right. He just had the wrong place for it, right?
yeah.
But yeah, it's we've talked about this before, but film is weird because it's such a collaboration, but not a collaboration. It's almost as though like you ever hear The idea about like the blind people touching the elephant, that nobody knows what it is in the end.
Never really heard that sentence, but yeah, it's done by committee really, and by people who don't know how to make movies or tell a story.
Yeah, exactly, right? Yeah, so yeah, the elephant parable, or it's an elephant horse, whatever, but it's like you're one person's touching the tail and saying this is really fluffy, another person's touching the trunk and saying this thing's really wet, and another person this is really rough, but they don't know that they're all just touching an elephant. Like they don't know what it is. They all think it's a different thing. That's what ends up happening with film. It goes through so many hands, and so many different people have the ability to change it. And arguably, the director is supposed to have some of that power to prevent that, but realistically there's so much money involved that that rarely happens, right? There's always someone else that's pulling or pushing them in a direction, or yeah, it's never as clear of a picture as you get with something like comics, where there's a writer, there's an artist, there might be a letterer, sorry, not there might be a letterer. There's a letter, there might be editorial team or whatever, but like we're talking half a dozen people in getting this completed, right? Where a film can be hundreds, right? And everybody pulling in their own direction. So because,
And I guess that's one of the reasons why moving from film to comic makes sense, because it's that, I don't know, getting that feeling that control is taken away, because there's quite a lot of people, and there's a lot of decisions that you're actually making on set, right? You cannot edit what you don't have. So you're basically making those decisions on set, and if you make the wrong decisions, you don't have everything you need, unless you go for reshoots and stuff like that, which a lot of movies go nowadays. While comics, yeah, you have that freedom to, you can do whatever you want usually, especially in indie comics. You don't have someone telling you can't do that, or you need to have a giant spider. And I don't know, I guess that's what attracts me in that idea of making comics, is that, and what made me change is that you don't have that lack of control. You can just, it's you, it's an artist, it's a letterer, that's kind of it. And I'm sure that it's a lot different if you're working for, like, Marvel, DC, and those guys, where editorial tells you that Spider-Man cannot marry Mary Jane again, or whatever reason. But sure, yeah,
yeah, exactly, right? Like I think that's part of the indie side of things too, right? Is that you have total control. If you want to do some kind of special covers, you can do it. You don't have to get approval. You don't have to ask for this or that, right? You want the story, you say the story needs another 6 pages. I mean, as long as you can afford it, you can add 6 pages, right? Like there's no true limitation outside of, what you limit yourself with to a degree, right? And budget. Budget's the ultimate control over all of it, right? But
if you want to have a very graphic flying uterus, you can.
yeah. Whatever floats your boat, man.
Story, but
Hey, man, but this is the thing. So even to do that in a film, like you want to, like the limitation. We have a dragon coming out of a guy's mouth. If we wanted to do this in a film, it would cost millions of dollars. We'd have to get all kinds of approvals from VFX houses, and we'd have to get rights clearances or something. Where it just happened. It happened. Roberto whipped that up in like 10 minutes.
did we go too on the nose with the prompt?
I don't. I mean, a little bit, but I think that's what made it fun, right? Like, if you didn't know the prompt, this would be wild, right?
Yeah, I think
Very, very literally, but I think it worked, right? I think it worked to our favor. It made it a little more interesting.
yeah, yeah.
This is what the second or third dragon we've done, Roberto.
Mhm. Yes, that's correct.
We like dragons. It's funny because the very first episode we did, we wanted to we were like, how do we make this about a dragon? And then it just didn't. It became a bear. Uh, and then yeah, then it took a little while, but now it seems to be like the Dragon podcast. But
If you ever need to rename it for any reason, that's your go-to thing.
it's gonna be like Instant Ink Dragon Show or something. I don't know. I need to workshop that title of it, but
So here's the idea. So you still generate the prompt, but you need to have a dragon in it. Whatever the story is, you need to have a dragon in it. That's it. That's your second prompt.
we were thinking about doing something similar for Christmas. We just ended up deciding we went on like a tear of shows right before Christmas. That's why this that we're recording at the end of January is going to air all the way in like end of April, because we went on a tear of just like 2 a week, 2 a week, 2 weeks. So by the time Christmas hit, we were just like, you know what, done. But the idea was going to be we would come up with like Christmas themed prompts, and then we were going to do like a Christmas episode, and we ran out of steam. Just couldn't. We were like, you know what? I did a quick 10 minute. Here's what we did this year, and that was it. But anyways, but yeah, I'm not against the idea of themed prompts. That's going to become important soon because we're running out of prompts. I'm noticing every time we do an episode, I'm always saying, "Well, we did that one and we did that one." So I'm actively looking for a new prompt generator. If anybody has one,
It's not really a prompt generator, but there's this competition called NYC Midnight,
okay.
and it's like short stories, short screenplays. I used to do that a lot very early on, and they give you like prompts. So one thing that I started doing was actually started to at the time combining prompts. So like they would give you like three things, like I don't know, a location, a person, and a situation, or something, like three different prompts combined. And one thing that I started doing was kind of just combining them. So do something like that.
Yeah, yeah. We've done that too, where we've said, look, if none of these are speaking to you, and we've had a couple of folks who were like, I like two of them. To use two, like the right. We're not married to the prompt at all. It's really just to get us going, and more than anything, to prove that we're not walking in with an idea, right? Where we have to incorporate something to kind of prove our point. But we've had ones that have just gone entirely off the rails in terms of where the prompt started and what we finished with. So yeah, so it's really just like what a prompt should be. It's to get you going, right? So that's kind of the idea. What you mentioned, the what is it, NYC nights or
NYC Midnight.
midnight? Okay, yeah, it's very similar. We have one. It's from like it's based out of Canada, but it's online. Is Writing Battle? I don't know if you've heard of that one. Very similar. They do like every couple of months they have a competition. They give you three prompts, so the location and then two things you have to incorporate in your story, and they give you a word limit. So like this month will be 1,000 words, the next month will be 250, and then the best part of it is it's all like internally voted on. So there's a big prize pool of like sometimes like 15,000 US or whatever that's split amongst all the people, and what it is it's everybody is providing feedback on each other's stories. So the battle part of it is you get two stories, you provide feedback on both, and then you pick a winner, and then all the winners go into like a tournament style bracket, right, where all the writers are reviewing other people's stories and deciding on winners, right? So, and the way they make it fair is it's never people in your category. So whatever your like location prompt is, you won't vote on any of those stories. You're going to vote on the other cards, right? So it's just to keep it completely fair that you're not, oh, this one's better than mine, so I'm gonna give it a bad vote. Right? So it's entirely separate, but it's cool because it's like it's a great way to one, like you're kind of forced to come up because similar to this, right? You're forced to come up with a story very quickly. Like you have 3 days to come up with a short story, and then you're getting immediate feedback. Like so, because that's part of the thing is that I think it's three. You get 3 rounds of feedback every round, right? So 3 different people are telling you this is what I liked, this is what, and it asks specifically, tell them what you liked and tell them what needs work. So you're getting some like true feedback from strangers. So it's like a giant writing group, but it's for these very specific prompts and that, right? Um, so sometimes the feedback you get is you didn't follow the prompt exactly, which is not. They're really shying. They're telling people like don't bring up the prompt, right? Like that's not the challenge here. Talk about the writing, right? It's a good way to get through the feedback part, just being like, it's supposed to be about dogs and it's not enough about dogs. Right? Well, that's not constructive criticism. So, anyways, it's a great thing. Writingbattle.com if you're ever interested. I think they have one coming up next week. Again, this is January, but they always have one coming up. So I could still be right in May when this airs. But
The one I was telling you about is very similar, but it's there's some judges like kind of judging the thing, and then you do have like a group of people in a forum kind of just giving feedback to each other, and that's really the good part about the competition, because very often, or in my opinion more often than not, the judges make some really weird choices. And yeah, and the people giving feedback, it seems to be a lot more accurate, so it's really good for that, for the feedback.
amazing. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and that's something like as a writer it's hard to I feel like for artists it's a little easier because people will again, I don't know, Roberto, correct me if I'm wrong.
I'm listening.
I get feedback on art because I don't know, artists are quicker to like look at something and be like, you need to work on your perspective, and like it doesn't take as long for them to kind of look at something and assess it,
Yeah.
right? With a writing piece, like one, you got to convince someone to sit and read it, but you also need them to analyze it, which is a whole different level of reading, right? Because like, yeah, sure, I'll read all kinds of stuff, and like I put together an anthology last year, and I wasn't doing a deep analysis on every story. The first round, it was, am I enjoying this? And if I'm enjoying this, then I put it in my pile of read this again, right? So it's hard to get those people that are going to do the deep cut, like this is what I liked and this is what needs work. So you get that with these competitions, right? The people are doing the analysis level. They're not just saying this was good. Well, why was it good? Like what do you think made you have that feeling? Where yeah, I feel like with art you're getting that a lot faster. And again, it's just the nature of I can look at it and if I have a trained eye, which I wouldn't say I do, but like someone like Roberto might, can look at something and tell you what's wrong with it almost immediately, right? So
Not always is immediately, but it's a lot faster than reading the whole novel.
it's the commitment level that you need. It's totally different because again, especially if you have an eye for it, like you can quickly suss out why something isn't working when you're looking at a piece of art, right? Where if you're reading something, like you almost have to go over it and over it and over it and be like, why isn't this clicking, like what is it? And some people are better than others to say, okay, like it might be this, and they start, yes, okay, if they did this that would improve here, and right, but it's that level of, you can't just like quickly read it and be like, here's what it is, right? Like you need to really do a different level of reading, an analysis level of reading. So, and those people are hard to find. It's hard to find people who are willing to do that, that aren't paid editors. Because yes, if you're writing a novel you should probably hire an editor because they will do that for you, um, but they're not cheap. That's the other thing.
I mean, in filmmaking you have, like, unpaid interns, and that's how you get the quality you get sometimes. But yeah,
That's the other level, right? They're doing that first pass because they're getting so many scripts that it's like, tell me what's legible, and then I'll tell you whether it's good, right? So I think that's kind of the idea there. But anyway, sorry, you're onto something.
yeah. But yeah, I guess with the image, what it is that even if you don't have the trained eye, you can tell whether the image makes you, feel something just with a glance, right? Any person can do that, even if they are not analyzing it. Like, are the feet, well done, or is the perspective right, and all of that, right? And with writing, you do need to, yeah, you do need to.
You need someone to have that other level. And again, I still think that's true with art, but again, it's just less of a commitment. It's the whole thing with like portfolio reviews, right? The reason you can do that at a convention is because someone can look at it and be like, yes, this is good. No, you need work, right? Like this is. there's levels to it that they can quickly suss out. Where if you go to a convention with a script, like just save yourself having to carry that around because nobody's going to read it. And the way you do that at a convention is you give them a completed book, and even then that's asking a lot, but at least, right, you're showing them that you could tell a story that is coherent as a comic without giving them the work of reading your words. It's just, again, it's the time commitment, right? It's a lot to ask for someone to sit and really absorb your work, but it's a must if you want to improve, right? Like it's the only way that you're going to learn what you're doing wrong. Um, as much as you can be self-taught in this, like until you start putting work out there and getting people telling you what's right and what's wrong about it, you'll never improve, right? It sucks to have people tell you things are bad.
It, yeah, it does, but it depends, right? I mean, you can have like, uh, you know, uh, constructive criticism, and that, it really depends how people put it. If people are being positive about it, and this is how you can improve, that's great. If they are like, this is trash, well, thank you. That doesn't really help.
Yeah, no, that's it, right? Like, so I've had the gamut of them. Like, so with this channel, with this podcast, we've had comments like "delete your channel." I blocked that guy, but I mean, there's also people just looking for engagement. So like, I get that game, but so like that doesn't help anyone. But then there's other folks that are like, I thought it was going this way, and I don't know. Like maybe they can't verbalize it, but you can understand. Okay, like I missed something here that you didn't understand what I was trying to get across, right? So even if they're not at that analysis level of things, like if they're giving you feedback that's yeah, that's constructive in some form, right? Like I it didn't connect with me because I didn't understand why this character was acting in this way. At least you can take that back and be like, okay, like that's got to be something I missed or something I didn't convey well enough, right? Or if somebody says, well, this sucks because I hate vampires. It's like, well, maybe you don't read the vampire book, you know?
It's not for you.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I guess that happened a lot. So when I was writing more screenplays, one thing that you get straight away is that, when you are getting feedback, and I did have a writers group at some point where we would, read each other's work and give feedback and all of that. It would be quite common to have, people raising something that's wrong. Uh, and usually all that meant, or even if they had a suggestion, it doesn't mean that it doesn't mean they're right. It doesn't mean that the problem is where they are saying there is a problem. But if enough people, I mean, it goes back to, if one person is telling you there is a problem, probably doesn't mean anything. It's just, they may just not be paying attention. If two or three people tell you there is a problem in the same place and they tell you different things, there probably is a problem there, right? It's just, yeah, people were just interpreting with their own view, but there was a problem. You just need to figure out what it is, and it's probably not there. It's probably way before. Uh, yeah.
That's where the work comes in, right? And that's where even a good editor would come in because they would come in and tell you, okay, the reason people are saying that is because you didn't set it up here, or you missed this here, or they were acting differently, or whatever, right? But they could probably do a better assessment than because they're coming at it with again that analyst's eye rather than just a reader. But like you said, yeah, it's the reader feedback is just as important because they'll find things that maybe the editor is looking for um, more structure wise, or you know what I mean. There's things they are looking for that it would even slip by them when you're talking about just like an emotional thing of like, right? It didn't connect with me. Well, that's very mushy, but like you said, multiple people are coming and saying the same thing. Well, they're onto something. They just don't know how to verbalize it or don't know what it is, even don't know what caused that feeling, right? So, very important. Feedback is huge, but yeah, it sucks. It really does. If it's not given in the right way. I've been very lucky working with a couple of editors that I have that when they do come with feedback, it's usually super duper constructive where they're like, look, this is missing. And it's like, oh my God, like you were right. I don't know how I missed that. Right. I should have been going in that direction. I've also worked with editors who are very like, why don't you go this way? And it's like, well, that's not the story I'm telling. It's like, why don't you have these characters doing something? It's like because they're furniture, right? Like they were just there to illustrate a point about the main character, but I don't care about them. So I've had that experience as well, where you almost have to like pull them back and be like, I know you like those characters because they were funny, right? But they were the clown. Like they weren't intended to be have their own side plot or whatever, right? I had a very specific thing. I'm trying to obscure it with a bunch of things I just threw in. But anyway,
If you like them so much, you can write fun fiction about them. Go ahead.
like there's room for them elsewhere, but this story I'm telling is about this specific thing that I want to get across, right? So again, it's hard because with feedback coming from every direction, you really have to evaluate what that feedback is and like what type of thing they're doing, what they're coming from. And like you said, if it's one person who just hates your thing because they hate it, I mean, yeah, you can only take so much out of that. But even then, I mean, sometimes there's something you can take out of it. And sometimes they're just trolls. Sometimes they just like to, they're trying to bait you into an argument on socials.